ഭഗവതേ ശ്രീ അരുണാചലരമണായ ഓം നമോ 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 ഭഗവതേ ശ്രീ അരുണാചലരമണായ ഓം.
I'll say Shanti part and then say one shlokam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. मनयेव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः बन्धस्य विषयासक्तं मुक्तैर्निर्विषयं स्मृतम्. For human beings, mind alone is the cause for bondage as well as for freedom. Mind attached to objects is bondage, and mind detached from objects is moksha, is freedom.
Thank you, Neelakantanji. This is so beautiful, and I think you can put everything to this also. Mind attached to things is sin. Mind attached to self is punya. What is ego? That is mind, going outwardly. And the same mind. So in Buddhism, actually, they talk about the same mind, which is the pure mind or no mind or passive mind. Bhagwan actually just makes it all or none phenomena. He says, Manonasha, you finish your mind. So but then Bhagwan also says the same mind is self. When the mind is gone, what is left is self only. So, and the same thing is about desire. If you see what is desires are also mind running after objects. It's desire. It's not what you are having in life or what you are receiving. It's where your mind is going towards. So desires and attachments, what we say is mind going towards object. And if you see what is wisdom, as Bhagwan always said, what is wisdom? Wisdom is mind which is loving self, or it stays in self. It abides in self. That is wisdom. That is wisdom if it does not leave that. That is wisdom. And how that wisdom comes to us with grace. And where is that grace? Grace is everywhere. That in finite awareness, everything is because of that. But to know that grace, you have to come close to grace. You have to give up your coverings, your ego, which is thinking that this is body mind. There's not much to be done in that sense. It's more of understanding. I think some people even say the mind is, as Neelakantanji was saying, mind is an obstacle, but mind can also help you to freedom. The same mind. When that mind looks within, when we talk about attention, what is attention? We say attention is going outwardly, attention is going inwardly. What is that attention? Attention is a component of mind only. When we say attend to yourself, be aware of awareness, stay as awareness, that staying as awareness, who is going to stay as awareness? Awareness is always the same. Awareness is not moving. We are not saying anything to awareness, but and we are awareness. But then why we talk about in a language of dualistic, that pay attention to awareness or look towards awareness, and we are talking about the same ego, same duality in us, same this doership, the one who thinks he is something and he is working outwardly, now he has to work inwardly, the same one. But the difference is, the moment this doer in us, when it looks within, with light of that effulgence, it disappears because it knows what it is. It is like you are looking outwardly for things and you think that you think something else about it, and someone is showing you the mirror. Antarmukhi, or looking inwardly, is actually seeing your true self in the real mirror of reality. And when you see yourself in reality what you are, then this image drops away, what we think what we are, because it's just a concept in us which thinks I am this body mind, I have to protect this body mind, and this body mind has vasanas or mental impressions, desires which we have to achieve, and we keep running in this rat race, and we see whole world is running in this rat race, and we think this is normal because everyone is doing the same. Someone is running after money, someone fame, someone female, someone something else, but no one is there who is just sitting and happy. People who are sitting are also unhappy because they are tamasic. They don't have, they have inertia, but they all want the same thing what other people are running for, but they have inertia. They are tamasic. They are on the other extreme end. That is worse. They have lot of desires and feelings, and they want to achieve everything what others are doing, and they hate others who are achieving everything because they are not motivated enough, or you can say they are motivated but they are not in action. So they who are sitting there are also unhappy, who are running they are also unhappy. Then who is happy? Who is not running but he has no desires? In Hindi we say, I think in English it would be the same thing, sour grapes, like when you couldn't get something, you say the grapes are sour. So the same thing, like people want to get there but they can't get it. They say, oh look, who wants it? But let's say you have things or you don't have things, but you don't care about anything, whether it comes to you or not comes to you. That is the beauty of all spiritual sadhanas and coming close to your reality, that you are already happy. It is just your wrong notion. Either you correct your notion that you are not this body mind. If you correct, then that correction itself will lead you to self-abidance, and then you are happy, because self, the other name of self is happiness only. But let's say you can't reach yourself, then we have to talk about all these things, that be desireless, don't run for things, and do some practice so you can know what you are. If your understanding can come just by listening to these things, and you accept it as it is, without having doubts on it, if your conviction is 100%, then there's nothing else needs to be done. What do you want to meditate upon, or what you want to do? There's no sadhana, there's no practice. If you are convinced, who are you who is convinced? Your mind. If your mind is 100% convinced, and there's a 100% conviction that desirelessness is freedom, then it will not run. It will dissolve in this seeing. then what else you need to do? Nothing. You are free at this moment. So all practices depends are actually long route to the same goal, to know yourself. Let's say today you decided that you want to retire. You had enough of job, you have enough money, you have paid your mortgage, you have no responsibilities, and you decide to retire. If you decide to retire, then who would force you to work? Tell me. Nobody can force you to work. Now within you, you have retired completely that, look, I don't want anything. Whatever I had is enough. Beings, things, objects, everything. I don't want anything. Now you sit. Now you are sitting that you don't want anything. You have decided, but has your mind decided this? Is your mind convinced about it? So it will pop up something. Look, I think you should go for at least this thing, this you always wanted. Maybe you don't remember, but I am trying to make you remember that you were always after this thing. What will happen? You may or may not follow advice of the mind. A seeker will also have a thought, but he might not obey that thought. And then another thought might come, though you have already decided that you are contented, you are happy, you are not looking for anything. But this, our close friend called as mind, will keep producing things after things. It wants you to be busy. If you can be out of trap of your mind and you are not busy, then you are eternally free. This is the thing. Freedom is from all thoughts arising in the mind, compelling you to do this or that, even if not by an action, at least by a thought that this is good, this is what I should be doing, this I should not do, this is right, this is wrong. These concept after concept. Concepts can be religious also, concepts can be good also. Maybe altruistic work, or I'll do this voluntary work and this work and that work. Actually, work is not bondage, but your intentions about work after work after work keeps you occupied in your mind, and that is bondage. Don't think that all people who get realization, they stop doing everything. But in reality, they stop doing everything. There is no doership. If in their destiny, in their prarabdha karma, if something has to happen through that body mind, it will happen. And if nothing has to happen, it will not happen. But they don't care about it. Right now, the problem is we are so much slave of the mind that whatever these thoughts are the conditioning. We are living in a conditioned atmosphere. It is what mind has done is it has changed that undifferentiated awareness into a very differentiated human being with a personality, with individuality, with an ego, with his own judgment, liking, disliking. That's why we all are so different. Even twins, monozygotic twins, are so different in their thought process. There would be a lot of similarities, but still they are two different individuals. Though they might be born and brought up in the same environment, still they are different. So if we take out this difference in us, which is only mind, then we all are same, exactly same, pure awareness, with same qualities, with same fragrance, no difference. External difference doesn't matter at all. Bodily difference. Main difference is in the mind. And if we don't follow that mind, we ignore that mind, the mind dissolves, then what is left is the same in all of us, which is always the same. So, if you see, the only practice which we need is not to follow mind but to follow silence. Take silence as your guru. And silence not outside, silence in within you. Silence which is primordial, silence which is even before any thought arises, silence which is there when you are sleeping in deep sleep, silence between thoughts. This silence is us. This silence is that pure I, the capital I, is that pure silence. When we are not following any thought, when we are not paying attention to any thought, then what our attention lies on is only on silence. So if you want to nurture silence, if you want to unfold this pure self from within, you have to pay attention to the silence only. Paying all your attention to the silence. And mind will come in between. Mind is your pet. You want silence, and it's coming, it's tickling you, it's climbing on you, it's talking to you. Because you have made him your pet. So it will come. Let it come. But if you ignore and you pay attention to the silence, slowly and slowly, this restless mind will understand that you love silence. Mind is behaving like this because you have given so much of work to this poor mind. It is only trying to please you. But because you are not giving any work to the mind, you had millions of desires. And you have put money into different desires, intentions by some actions, or at least by thinking about those. Now, some of those desires are getting fulfilled. Like, you put some money in fund and the funds mature and you get results. But somehow you decided that you're not interested in any of these funds. But the money will keep coming out of those things, or something is getting ready or half cooked. And so it needs your attention. But if you're not putting any attention, eventually it will finish off. Some things will come to you because, let's say, you have put so much of hard effort in a business, that business will reap rewards and the money will come. So it's okay. But you have no more intention to keep expanding, but that's okay. In similar way, whatever intentions you have put to your mind for thousands of things, they're happening or not happening. But now you have retired. Now you have thought enough is enough. I had enough of this game and I'm just fed up of this, and I have got everything what I need. And I'm not after anything. If anything comes, anything goes. How long the body stays. If you have no other desire left, then what will happen? Mind will also die down soon. The mind has no work to play. It will be like a vestigial organ. If you want to kill mind, the only way is ignore mind. Ignore mind means ignore thoughts. Ignore thought means not acting on thoughts. And you don't have to make it as a black and white, because a thought which is like a common sense, then everyone will do it. I'm talking about incessant thoughts which keeps coming. Especially these psychological, emotional thoughts of your story of the body mind. Have a big laugh when those thoughts comes, because tell them you are not this body mind. So this story is not your story. Nobody knows your story. When people come to you to show sympathy of something wrong happened in your life, just have a big laugh inside you that they don't know who you are. You are just a formless awareness living in this body. This body has created this story in this life. It has created so many stories in previous lives. Who cares? You don't even remember them. How is this more important than any of them? It is all your belief system which is working right now. If you believe in this story, you invest in this story, then suffering and joy and this roller coaster stays. But the moment you stay and you stop listening to the mind, all story dissolves. It's not that you achieve anything, you don't achieve anything. Actually, you lose everything. In all honesty, you become nothing. You become so empty that even saying emptiness doesn't make any sense. In emptiness also there is some air, I think. If you keep a pot and you say it's empty, there is some air in it, isn't it? There is no air in you. You know, sometimes we say ego is like air. People say he has too much of air. You know, even this air is not there. There's nothing. You are so light. And almost like hardly any work to the mind or to the brain, because there is perfect peace, contentment. There can be small ripples. If someone has knocked on the door, you will see like this, and then it goes. But not those intense emotions, whatever comes and goes. But it is a gradual process. So don't think that it will happen like this and everything is gone. It can happen. Maybe you are that lucky one. But for most of the people, it's a slow cooking. It's a slow process. Because mind has so much of stuff it is carrying from this birth and previous birth. Even in this birth, if you only believe in this birth, even in this birth, we have collected so many stories, good and bad. So those stories in which we have shown interest in the past, they keep coming back, like keep haunting us. But if we have decided that we had enough of everything, we don't need anything, and your things around you will stay the same, they might slowly change. But main thing is your mind, which will start changing. It will start transforming. Mind will become more intimate, antarmukhi, looking inward towards the self. Because self is the resting state, not for you, but for mind. You are what you are. We are trying to get rid of this covering called mind. So it will also stay in that shade of your silence, because you like silence, so mind has no work. And mind will just come and sit there in your heart. And maybe because of old habits, you might still again go out and then the mind, and then because of your vigilance, it comes back. So this whole process is of being very vigilant. Extreme wakefulness. And that is the only reason why no religion permits use of alcohol or any other depressant or other drugs. The reason is because we are already not that awake. That's why we keep getting into the trap of the mind. But look, people who love alcohol, they also love because it decreases the activity of the mind. It dampens everything. So you feel a bit of bliss because the mind is not that active. It's not running for things. But the thing is that there's another way. There are two ways to get rid of the mind. This is a temporary with lot of side effects. If you take alcohol, you dampen, you depress mind. But there's another way is being hyper vigilant. Nip on the bud. As soon as a thought comes, you don't entertain. As Bhagwan says in self-inquiry, a thought comes, put this question, whom this thought is coming. And the thought will disappear and the question has no other significance except bringing you back to self. This is what self-inquiry is. There's no answer coming out of this inquiry. No, you are that answer. Every time you ask, who am I? You come back to the source. That is what it is. When you are hyper vigilant and the mind plays a trick and shows that you are the sufferer, the whole world is against you, it's a sabotage against you, you are the best person in this world, or you deserve better than what people are giving you. Whatever it brings, but when you are hyper vigilant, you don't buy any thought. When you don't buy any thought, what is going to happen? You stay as self only. So this understanding is very important, that we are trying to be in a hyper vigilant state, not a panicky state, not a paranoid state, but just attentive state. So it is exactly opposite to what all the drugs does to us, or heavy food does to us. It also leads us into sleep. Sleep is not an answer for awakening. And they make us all sleepy. We are already in sleep. So this state of self-abidance is a very, very highly awakened state. Highly awakened state. More awakened than what you think the waking state is. But with a paradox. It's a highly, highly withdrawn state. More withdrawn than your deep sleep. Because in deep sleep there is nothing. But you are ignorant. Here you are awake. But completely withdrawn from everything. Even your body and mind and everything. You are at a different level. If you want to call it as a level. And that is why they have to call it as a different state. It's not a fourth state, it is a different state than dream, waking, and deep sleep. It's not a fourth state. These three states are states of only of mind. You have transcended mind. That's why they also call it Turyatit, like you have transcended it. That is what you are. Don't compare yourself with the three states of mind. You are not those three states. You are not even mind. How can you be the three states of mind? They are superimposed on you. So to stay as what you are, you don't have to do anything. Let all of us decide that we will not do anything internally with our thoughts. Let them come and go. We don't engage. We promise ourselves not to engage. And then starts this game of not engaging for any reason. And here comes then all the practice, effort, sadhana in not engaging. But otherwise, you're not doing anything for that self to manifest. Self is always there. You are just getting rid of all the disturbance around this self. You are creating an atmosphere so self can reveal yourself. Self can reveal you, your real identity. It can only do that, or you can only know it if there is peace, perfect silence. Then you can see it. Because it is eternal, it is always there. And it is always the same. Whether you have got it now or whether Jesus Christ found it 2000 years back, it is the same. It cannot change. Even after million years, it will be the same. Its taste, its fragrance, that realization will not change. It will not change because now there's new technology or we have advanced. It is nothing. It is always, it is eternal, it is pure. Only thing is that you have to silence noise around you. Silence your mind. And silencing mind is by not engaging with mind. Understand this. And here, mind is also helping you. Because whatever understanding right now you're getting for your mind by listening, by contemplating on it, by understanding it. So the mind gets subdued. This teaching is not for awareness. Awareness is pure knowledge, it is always the same. So all the techniques, effort, this is only for mind, for ego, to become egoless, to finish your mind in this pure awareness. If your understanding is very strong and you have 100% conviction about it, then there is nothing which can stop you. God within you will manifest through this body-mind complex. So nurture your silence. This is the most precious gift within you. And the best and easiest way is by paying attention to it. Look, everyone in this world wants some importance, isn't it? If you give importance to someone, they feel good. Same is with the awareness. You give importance to awareness, awareness will be more in you. You give more importance to mind, you'll be having more mind in you. So pay importance to the most important thing. Most important. Now, a bhakta, a devotional person, surrenders his ego. For him, it is very, very easy. He thinks there is only God, nothing else. And he dissolves his ego. It is so easy for him. And he just prays to the God and God's glory in prayers and bhajans and kirtan. So it is very, very easy for a bhakta, for a devotional person who surrenders. He gets that joy, unending joy, But the same thing you can do when you pay attention to awareness as a jnani, as a person who has taken the path of knowledge. Exactly the same. And when you come closer, you become bhakta actually. You become devotional because it is pure love. And you feel that love. You have never felt that before. Maybe no one would have loved you so much. Maybe your mother might have, but apart from that, I think this love is divine love. And when the bhakta, when a devotional person comes here, then he gets this gyan that this pure God whom he was always devoted to is actually him only. There's no one else there. It is him. And that is a gyan. In both ways, from wherever direction you come, you know both things. Jnani becomes bhakta and bhakta becomes jnani. This is the beauty of this pure awareness. So there is completeness in this nothingness. And everything becomes you when you leave everything what you think you own. You can take this in another way, which is very easy. Like, let's say, in very simplistic terms, when we came to this world, we didn't bring anything. Have we brought even this body with us? Body was given here only. Everything was given here only. Parents, whatever, job, education, kids, family, society, friends. Everything is being given here, isn't it? We didn't bring anything. And when we will go, everything will stay here only. When we haven't brought anything, then how can we claim things are ours? Just because the government had made rules that if you buy this property, this is in your name. Even name is being given here. We didn't bring a name. So we have nothing. In reality, we cannot own anything. We don't own anything. Everything belongs to God. Even this body, even this mind, even this whatever we see, everything, whatever we call is our own, is actually God's property. If it is our property, then we can keep it as long as we want. We can't even keep this body for as long as we want, or even our relatives or friends. We don't own anything. And this is the biggest sin, when we show ownership to things, because everything belongs to Him. And the moment we understand this, not intellectual understanding, our own experiential understanding from deep within our heart, your ego dissolves. The ego dissolves, and you see that you are that pure awareness. And that pure awareness owns everything. Can you believe this paradox? You're leaving some things which are owned by a name tag. You give up that name tag, and now you own everything. If you are a good businessman, you would think that this is a good deal, isn't it? In a business deal. Now you own everything. And you are in everything, everything is in you. So even if you are a very shrewd businessman, this is a very good deal, isn't it? Giving up ego is always a win-win situation. You can never be at loss. You can come from any direction, you can measure from any angle. You are always in benefit, never at loss. Knowledge is everything. Knowledge is wisdom. Knowing that you are eternal is such a big knowledge, isn't it? Fear of death will be gone. Nobody can kill you. Nobody can touch you. Because you are not this body. You are not this mind. You don't even belong to this world. This world is all the time changing. It's transitory. You are eternal in this world. Know yourself. Pay attention to yourself. Abide in yourself. All our life, 30, 40, 60, 70, whatever our age is, we have paid attention to in the word only. Our mind is moving outward. Let's bring it back. Pay attention to God within. Let it manifest in you. And the only thing you need is attention to it. People pay attention in different ways. Some do japa, some do take name of the Lord. But this is a very direct path in a way, that you just pay attention to that same awareness. It might look a bit odd, but I'll tell you, it is the simplest, easiest, direct method. When your attention is here and then your mind wants to take you, you just watch it. If you watch it intensely, mind will shy away. Until now, mind had power. You were slave of your mind. Now mind knows that you have started recognizing who you are. And so mind will be ashamed of dodging master. You are the master. You are that all pervading awareness. How can a small mind in a small body can deceive you? It can only deceive you if you don't know this truth. When you know this truth, how can it deceive you? Now it cannot. Because you're vigilant, it cannot play tricks on you anymore. And what you need to do? Nothing. Just you have to be vigilant. You stay there and it just unfolds. And you keep practicing. You practice even for a minute intensely. You will notice how different you will start feeling. And if you stay like this for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 2 year, what do you think will happen? It will be hard for you to even believe that you have a name, you have a body, and you have to search where that mind is now when you need it. Because you will realize that 99% of the time when you needed mind, there was no need for it. Things happens on its own. It's all divine planning. Things just happens. Good things happens, bad things happens. Which you call as bad is the ones which your mind thinks they are bad. There's no good thing or bad thing. Things, events, that's all. This you realize when you are sitting in your heart all the time. You have the best view of the world. Then for you, joy and suffering of others and yours and everyone is exactly the same. There is no difference. All what is ticking, what is causing you so many concepts is only your mind. What you perceive as mind, whatever you perceive is through your mind only. The moment the mind drops, the word is still there, but it has no effect, no emotional effect. Still, you have a heart, you can feel for others, but it's not like the way we think right now. Right now, we take one step this direction, one step back, then one step this. We don't even know what is right, what is wrong. That is what restlessness in mind is. We are never sure about what is right or what is wrong. Staying as pure awareness, things are always right. Because there is no one to decide about anything. You have accepted. That is total acceptance, and total acceptance is giving you total freedom, complete freedom. Freedom of about thinking about everything, planning about everything. Because once you accept everything, when you have no ego, then every moment is a blessing. So let's stop arguing with your mind. Whatever it brings, let it bring. But just don't engage. And this is your tapas, this is your practice, sadhana. You stay like that only. Let it bring whatever it wants to bring or not bring. It will bring everything what you have given in that garbage box. It will throw back on you. So accept it. It is you have given it to mind, mind is giving back to you. So tit for tat, it will be equal. Then we will play on a level field, isn't it? And then finally it will do what it has to do and then it will disappear. It cannot stay. If you stay where you are, you don't move. You abide in your stillness. Don't worry how you look. You might look stupid to others because you look like dumb. You don't know things, but that's okay. Being dumb is better than being busy with mind. So, because I'm telling you, because mind can bring a lot of doubts about even the technique and how crude this technique is, and how people will think I'm stupid, I can't remember things. Maybe I might get dementia, if I use this technique, what Sanjay is talking about, you know. Maybe I might get lost, I've lost my brain, people will start saying, or maybe someone might say that, have you lost your brain? Then you might check in mirror that it's still there, So mind can play a lot of tricks on you on this path. The body might start twitching. You might think that you have to do Sudoku and crosswords, because you have to keep your mind active. Otherwise, I might have dementia. It can give you thousands of excuses to get involved, keep getting involved in your mind, in your thoughts. This all problem is because of doubt. Otherwise, there is no problem. You're already free. We have to do all this because that 100% conviction doesn't come that you are pure awareness. And we keep getting into this mind game all the time in doership role. If you are really a puppet and someone else is controlling you, then what this mind is doing. And people, if I say, most of you might agree also, yes, it is all prarabdha, and you have read all the books, and Bhagwan has said, and thousands of other people have said. But then mind said, no, I still have to, fine tune my life, I should do like this. These are my likings. No, Sanjay, that's all good. But still we have to, I will keep my flower pot like this. I can't keep it like that, or whatever, even small, from smallest thing to biggest, the mind will keep ticking. It will not allow you to rest. But if you decide to rest, then mind cannot do anything. It can show tantrums. It will be active. It will wake you up at night because in daytime you are so vigilant. Then a lot of people actually in sadhana, they wake up because the mind will bring something from 20 years ago. Make you, or some people start getting very vivid dreams. So all this can happen, but that's okay. That's okay. That's not a problem. That actually just shows that how vigilant you are in daytime, that it only disturbs at night. Because at night anyway you have to sleep. And I'm not asking you to be awake whole night and just be vigilant all the time, Bhagwan also says, morning you wake up till you go to bed, be vigilant, continue your practice, you wake up, then do it. And if you're doing in daytime, most of the time at night also, this will work for you. But give mind also a chance to show up, because it is also unwinding itself in your dream and whatever, It has to unwind itself. Let it happen. Don't think about it. bad dreams, ugly dreams, whatever. Let it happen. It is just, its catharsis is going on within. Lot of things happens actually. Changes in body, change in your digestion, so many things changes. But just allow everything to happen. And when you allow everything to happen, then this beautiful opening of your consciousness happens. The self kindles, that kindling flame that becomes big, self-effulgent. Actually, I'll tell you, we are all buds, born as buds. And so it is flowering of that bud when we get enlightened or self-realized. If we don't do that, it is like, we were born as a bud and we died as a bud. It never turned into a flower. There was no opening. Actually, it is opening, manifesting. You open up. It is like you open up, but this opening of this flowering is very big thing. Not just for you, for everyone, because it spreads its fragrance, and there's no end to its fragrance. Maybe you think it stays in earth, it has no boundary. Because when the drop goes into the ocean, it becomes the whole ocean. You know your awareness, you become infinite awareness. You have broken the boundary of that ego, that veil around you. It breaks open. It is like a drop of water in the ocean in a plastic bag. And plastic bag is like ego. You tear it apart, and then where is that drop now? Now the drop is whole ocean, isn't it? No difference. With ego, we are like small drops in plastic bags. And the ego punctured, we become that full ocean, infinite ocean, boundaryless. Then where you begin, where you end, what is your top, what is your bottom, nobody knows. Nobody can tell. Even you don't know where you finish, where your boundary finishes. You don't know anything. It is like you are such a rich man, you don't know how much money you have. You give up small to become infinite. Each and every moment spent paying attention to awareness within will never get wasted. I assure you. You might be doing a business or whatever job. Nobody can guarantee if you keep doing hard work, you will earn that much. It all depends on your destiny. Here, it is independent of destiny. No one seeing your hand or your birth chart can tell you whether you will get enlightenment or not. Because it tells only about the jiva, the ego. You are beyond ego. So keep your all attention on this pure awareness. It is just a matter of some efforts from you. And then what is going to happen is that awareness will pull you, suck you in. It is more powerful than you. It is like a magnet. It looks like you are doing efforts, you are pulling, but actually it is doing its job to pull you within. So don't look around, don't think about anything. Just be in your silence. Here, you need to trust your pure self, pure awareness. Remember it, respect it, love it, pay attention to it. That I amness in you, that feeling of awareness, the one which is only observing without commenting. Think that you are living without a mind, without any thoughts, without any expert comments. Try to start living a life not dependent on gadgets like mind, and see the beauty unfolding from within. The moment you surrender to that ultimate starts taking care of you. You give up doership, and God plans your life. Actually, He's planning everyone's life. But this middleman called as ego just disturbs all the fun, this bliss. Let it unfold. Don't be in a rush. Have infinite patience and longing. If you can't remember this awareness, call it by any name: self, God, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Ramana, Shiva, or pure awareness. If you really are longing for it, you will find a way how to stay there. You can create your own way. And when you reach from there, then you can have a sect. You can tell people that I did this led to this. So people who are like your mindset, they will do that and they will achieve it. There are as many ways to reach here as number of people. I remember in my school days, I heard a song which was like 39 ways to reach your lover's house or something like that. So it talks about going through the window, going through a pipe, and going through the basement, digging a hole. Here, innumerable number of ways to reach your lover, your beloved. Start with what Bhagwan is saying, and you will find it. It will happen. It has to happen. No way. Just stay there. Keep digging deep. Don't move.
Infinite has infinite ways.
In finite ways, isn't?
Infinite has infinite ways.
In finite ways, isn't?
Infinite has infinite ways.
Yeah. So yeah, but never, never make any other path inferior or talk about in a low language about any path. Never. But stick to your path. That's what I would say. Respect all paths, but stick to what has come to you, because that is the shortcut for you. Hope it all works for everyone who listens to satsang or who abide or who longs for it. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you everyone to win satsang. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you everyone. Nice.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.